imagine for a good blaster at your side.
How do we do this again? Is this a podcast?
This is the one where you say,
It's called
and then I say, and then we say.
Together. Over each other
Yes.
while laughing. I think this is Hokey Religion, the Star Wars podcast.
I
where
think
we talk about maybe The Mandalorian, if it's still being made. Do films exist still?
No, actually they don't.
That's true. This is Tyler.
This is Michael.
Welcome to a long lost episode of Hokey Religion that we're deciding to finally release an episode after not being able to record due to the world being on fire and everyone dying and things being unsafe and us being unsure of how to continue.
You make it sound like we recorded this before and all.
No.
This is the archives.
No. It's gonna feel lost because we're lost because it's been a while since we've done this.
It has been
A while.
a very long time.
2 months. Sorry.
Sorry. Sorry we released the corona virus.
It was definitely not me.
Definitely. It definitely wasn't me either.
Well, the world caught on fire and we hid in our holes and then we just didn't feel like it because why do anything anymore? Because you can't.
It's true.
And then I guess we decided, we should probably still do
We
that.
have this thing. These microphones.
That's it.
That's it.
Did we forget how to do this? Have we forgotten?
I think so.
Okay.
Although I'm not sure I ever really knew how in the first place.
That's probably true.
No, the real reason we didn't record was because, for recording, you need wires for the
Many.
sound to go inside of.
Many wires.
And we couldn't find a wire that was long enough
Ha
to go to both houses.
Couldn't tap into the network. Runs under the city.
I kept plugging my laptop into the power cables. Let's sit under a power pole.
We probably could have figured out how to do it remotely. And we just didn't. Just to be fully honest. I think
Well, it's kind of obvious.
there was just too much going on. And then nothing going on. To the point where so much nothing was happening that you couldn't keep track of trying to do anything.
Yeah.
Does anyone else feel like that?
There's so much nothing that it seems like your life is worthless.
Great. Who else is depressed? Raise your hand. Well, thank you. Everyone put your hands down.
See.
Everyone put your hands down. I mean, not that there was anything really to talk about for the last 2 months with film production shutting down across the globe. TV shows and movies just won't exist for the next year.
Hang on. There we go.
No. Why?
That's what you do. You do it into the thing, right?
Sure.
Do you do it in the thing or do you do it over here? Here? Or here?
Whatever makes you comfortable.
Okay.
I mean, we were talking about this the other day where the amount of films and TV shows, and there's just nothing, there's not going to be something new like next summer through next fall.
Mm-hmm.
Just there's not going to be new things because no one was allowed to make them. All the TV shows that were in production that halted, all the films that were in production that halted, it's going to be this weird summer of nothing next year.
What a future.
I mean, if Fast 9 is canceled or whatever it's called,
Fast 9.
if it's put on hold, we can't have that. Cars swinging across canyons on chains or whatever the hell was in that trailer.
It was something like that,
It
wasn't
was
it?
exactly that. Then how can we expect anything good to happen next year?
Everything's on hold. Our lives are on hold. Movies are on hold. TVs are on hold. TVs.
TVs. They
They're
stopped
on
making
hold.
TVs.
They're on hold,
Probably.
Tyler.
That's probably true. The factories are probably on hold.
And parks.
Parks.
Disney's closed
Disney's been closed
For
for
the
the
first time
longest
ever.
ever. I think before that, the longest it had ever been closed was
What, a
a
day?
single day.
Yeah.
9/11. They closed the day of 9/11 and then reopened the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So Even for hurricanes, they don't close. They just hold on to something. Good luck. Welcome to the park. But, I mean, it is what it is.
Construction projects are on hold.
Yeah, it makes sense. It sucks. So many there's so much construction going on at Disney that was going to be amazing that just they couldn't, obviously with keeping safety in mind, could not continue. Unfortunately, one of those things happens to be a Star Wars thing, which is the fantastical
Star Cruiser.
Galactic Star Cruiser, the Fantastic Hotel, the Halcyon.
Mm-hmm. Canceled.
Well,
We don't know. Construction's
I hope
halted on
not.
it.
Yeah, they halted construction on it, like full stop.
Which they have more than the superstructure up at this point. So I would
The
think
whole
that
building's up. Yeah,
I mean it's probably going to be a low priority thing.
right. It's something new. It's not anything that was making money yet.
Right.
So they obviously aren't probably going to prioritize that.
Yeah, so I wonder what that's going to. It was scheduled to open next year, but that's definitely not
Right.
happening.
And Bob Iger said, I mean, even of the cruise line,
That's the other thing. Bob's back.
2 Bobs.
He
Which
left
Bob am I supposed to listen to?
he left for a week
Right.
or something like that.
Right. Yeah, he left for a week to put new Bob into the worst world possible.
And then new Bob caused a global pandemic. So we got old Bob back.
Yeah.
Bob 1.
It is
Bob Prime.
it is weird how people keep saying that new
That Bob caused the pandemic, I know.
Sure. That new Bob has been doing a great job and everything internally, but I've not heard or seen him talk about anything to anyone other than through other people.
New Bob has never spoken to me.
New Bob comes to me in the night. He tells me
His dark secrets.
he tells me his secrets, the struggles. But so Bob Iger's back making, all of these statements in the news. And I mean, even their cruise line, he has said, is pretty much their last priority. So don't expect that to come back anytime soon.
Right. Which is
So if that's
true
not coming back,
globally.
right. So if that's not coming back anytime soon, I doubt there's going to be any priority of continuing to build a hotel that's not making money yet.
Maybe. Yeah. Especially when the whole groups of people thing has to be rethought
Right.
at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that could be retooled maybe to be a lower capacity. I don't know. But
Yeah. You just, I mean, it's just like restaurants that are reopening where you have to have space between tables at a certain, of a certain amount and decrease capacity. You can probably do that, but they still have to have the money to build it, and they're losing, isn't it like $50 million a day not being open?
that wouldn't surprise me. I don't know the number, but it's disappointing, but understandable, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's understandable. It just, what are you gonna do? What is anyone gonna do? What can any of us do other than just try to be
Sit at
helpful?
home and do nothing.
Right? Which most people aren't even doing that.
That's
So-
true. The bare minimum.
The bare minimum is just wear a thing on your face, and they're like, "Screw you, my rights."
My freedom, my hair. What about my hair? Think of the hair. It gets long.
No, oh yeah. So Disney's money loss. It's I think supposedly about 500 million a month,
What?
something
Okay.
like that. No, yeah. So the estimated loss to be between 30 million. No, so sorry, 30 million, 20 to 30 million a day, but they're saving 500 million a month because of not having anyone to pay.
Jeez.
So maybe they're breaking even
It's wild.
in there somewhere.
Wild stuff.
Yeah, like just Hong Kong Disneyland and Shanghai Disney lost 145 million in 8 weeks. Like that's how much money they make in that amount of time. So it's probably good for them that Disney Plus has been doing so well, because that's probably the
It's
only
more
thing.
money than I could count to.
probably the only thing making them, reliable money is one of the few things being, obviously all their TV stuff. The fact that they're still in the TV game from Disney Plus to all their TV channels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because obviously even films, the newest Pixar film was coming out like when all this happened, and they had to throw it direct to streaming, so they really didn't make any money off of that either.
Yeah, I mean they got a ton of new subscribers to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Which probably in the long run is going to make them more money than the film release, but
yeah, probably. I mean, they gave us a new Mandalorian documentary show starting on Star Wars Day on May 4th, which I haven't yet watched any of because...
Let's talk about the things that we do know are happening. So, yes.
Sadness. Entropy. Lethargy. That's me. How about you? How about you?
Oh,
Pasta night.
That's definitely happening.
Because it's the only thing you can find at the grocery store. Pasta.
Italy has all our paper towels, and we have all their pasta.
Oh, no. So what do we know that's
Is
happening?
that an episode title? We have Italy's pasta? No.
Probably not.
What do we know about?
What is happening?
Tyler, here are the things. According to my notes document that we have.
According to my
Knowledge
sources, which was me writing notes
2 hours ago. We got your Mandalorian season 2 coming up. We got lots to talk about there.
That had thankfully gotten to post-production before all this happened.
And it will release on time, according to all
That's
estimates.
what they say.
We got a season 3 in pre-production already.
Yep.
Coming up. We got Clone Wars. New season just finished.
It has finale'd.
It has finale'd, and I have not watched.
I haven't started.
I watched up to episode 4. I watched the whole Bad Batch arc, which was really good. Very dark.
Just what we need in this time.
Yes. Bleakness. In our fantasies and in life.
Right.
We got the Rise of Skywalker home release happened in between our last episode and now.
Yeah.
Which isn't saying a lot because that was like 3 months ago or whatever.
Right.
March.
Yeah. I had to pick it up from the old drive-through Best Buy that it is now.
All right. Talk about things that should exist after this is all over, that should continue to exist.
Okay.
Drive through everything.
Drive through everything and delivery everything
Yes.
should 100% just stay around.
Yes.
Why should I ever go into Best Buy for anything?
Just bring
I
it.
already look at all the shit online before I go buy it. I just need to see if you have it.
Right.
So
you do all your price shopping and all that
you
stuff.
just bring it to my car, throw it in the back seat. I didn't even, because that was still early on when I, probably hadn't already been exposed to
That's
it.
the thing. You go in there, you know what you want.
Right.
You know how much it's going to cost. All you have to do is get it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So that,
and in some cases, it's already paid for. And you just have to have it in your hands.
Exactly.
So
yeah, this pickup for Rise of Skywalker, I drive up, and of course, like they approached my driver's side window, and I rolled down my back seat window, and I talked back to them and said, "Just put it in the back seat." And they said, "Okay," and they dropped it in the back seat, and I rolled up my window, and I didn't even have to get near them. I just chuck it in, frisbee it into the back seat of my car.
What more could you ask for at a Best Buy?
Right.
Yeah.
Nice restaurants doing delivery and pickup, like good restaurants that aren't just fast food and quick service.
Yeah, because they were forced to.
Because they have no other way to serve food or make money.
Right. Again, you know what you want. You can pay for it beforehand. You don't want to have to deal with anybody else.
There's a whole group
chuck
of
it in the
people.
back seat and drive off.
Just chuck the pasta in my back seat and let's go.
Put the macaroni in my bra. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I already work from home just because I'm lucky enough to have a job that I can do that with. But even for people that don't have that, apparently everyone's doing fine working from home. for the most part.
Oh, right.
So
like
just keep
all these
letting
people that have had to
work from
start
home.
it for the first time.
Yeah, all the
ever.
places with management was like, no one's productive working at home, and everyone's like, we're way more productive working at home now that you've let us.
Right.
So I
Well,
hope,
I mean, if it wasn't for all of this, I'm sure you could say that.
despite all the death and
Oh no, where are you going with this?
despite
I'm
all the death
afraid
and
for you.
suffering, I hope that we've learned something from this beyond the pandemic.
Wait a minute.
Beyond having a pandemic team
wait a minute.
that watches out for this type of thing.
Wait a minute.
I hope we've learned.
Are you telling me? Despite all the death, so you're saying, if I can recap, you're saying despite all the
let
death,
something good come out
at
of this.
least we're productive. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying despite how horrible this situation is,
Yes.
at least I hope that something good comes of it, with people realizing that, the way people
that a standard
way-
office environment
the way
isn't the
jobs
only,
work,
Yeah, right.
the way businesses work and things like that I think we've seen
It should
that
be an
it can
option.
it can function much differently and work, obviously,
Yes.
very well.
It should be an option at the very least. You should have the option to work from home. If
Right.
that doesn't work for you, and
Provided
you
your
couldn't
job
do it,
allows it. Obviously, if you're someone that works in a warehouse or someone that drives a vehicle, you can't do that from home.
you can't.
Though NASCAR racers are racing races from home, so I mean, really, why isn't this just Ready Player One, where we all just jack into our internet suits and then have adventures in a world while we get fat on Cheeto dust?
If there's one thing I want to do, it's to jack in.
That's all I've ever wanted. Okay, how'd we? Where'd
We've
we,
got
where'd we end up?
the Rise of Skywalker home
Yeah,
release.
yeah.
We haven't even talked about our notes.
That did come out. I got it.
We have new Star Wars movies and TV show announcements in the meantime.
movies and TV show.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's get through the other stuff real quick. We've got a lightsaber collection book coming out on October 10th.
Mm-hmm.
This is all canon lightsabers it's going to have in it for reading.
I feel like they lost an opportunity with it not being a pop-up book.
A whole lightsaber popping out?
It doesn't
The
have
hilt
it
or the whole
doesn't-
saver?
Just the hilt.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I'll
That's
give
all.
you that one.
That's my contribution there.
You're not talking about full on throwing every page.
as it just flips out a whole blade.
Wait, a pop-up book should not make that sound. Doesn't matter what it is. It's not a scroll.
As the lightsaber blade rolls down the hallway. There's a warning on the cover that please don't open this book unless you have 10 feet of reading space
10 feet of reading space.
in all directions.
Excuse me, I require a 50-foot radius of reading space.
Right.
Thank you. This is exactly about is what I need. Okay, we've got this other stuff. I don't know. Well, the Shadows of the Empire soundtrack
Yeah.
is going to be released,
I saw that today. I'm really excited about
which
that.
is really cool. That's August 7th,
on
vinyl and CD, which probably means there's going to be a digital.
Who uses a CD for anything?
I was
No.
considering buying a CD deck the other day because I have a bucket full, not a bucket, but
It's just a bucket of CDs.
That
just,
is no cases.
just a drum of CDs. You just shove your hand in and swirl it around and come out with something.
Wow.
It's like the discount DVD, crate at Walmart, where it's like 4 feet deep and 4 feet wide of just whatever $2 DVDs they decided to throw in there, and just you rummage, you find something, and you go home with the third direct TV Independence Day.
Wow, it's my 2005 mix of Linkin Park, Disturbed, and Breaking Benjamin.
That's my driving mix of Linkin Park in the exact same order that the songs appeared on the record originally.
And then I had a bit in here about the actual reason Josh Trank quit the Boba Fett spinoff. And the only reason I put it in there is because of something we'll talk about in a second here.
Do it.
So let's go back to Mandalorian season 2 on our notes.
It's gonna happen, y'all.
we have a confirmation as of what, 2 days ago? A day ago?
Yeah, 2 days ago, I think. from
Boba Fett
recording.
will appear in Mandalorian season 2.
It seems to be the case that Tamura Morrison is expected to play a small role in season 2 of Mandalorian,
As Boba Fett specifically.
supposedly as Boba Fett. Though, of course, it's possible he could just be a clone. He has that option.
But I mean, it would be stupid to not. I mean, it was hinted at. So the boot man from season 1.
Yeah, right. We
that
talked about that
inspected
on the previous episode
the assassin's body.
when Finnick Shand was on the ground dead. That
Was it Shard or Shand?
Shand.
Oh.
Ming-Na Wen's character.
Oh.
Someone walks up and it has that sound cue, that spur sound cue that Boba Fett has in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, it sounds just like Boba Fett." Well, it's very possible it was.
Right.
Because that was on. No, that wasn't Tatooine. That was.
Damn it.
Another planet.
Desert
that I don't
planet.
remember yet.
No, it was.
Or was that one Tatooine?
That was Tatooine. Yeah,
That
it
one
was.
Tatooine.
It was.
So it's.
Because there was a dewback in it, right? Wasn't there?
Yes, he rode one. So there's a couple. I mean, one, obviously he could be Boba Fett. He could just be a clone. But it's interesting because there's been other canon works that Boba Fett's armor has been acquired by someone else.
Well, yeah. So there's a couple things. Take a step back for a minute. Obviously, Lucasfilm wants Boba Fett to come back in some way.
Right. They tried to make a film of him.
The Josh Trank thing.
Yeah.
That got canceled, which was canceled because he voluntarily left the project after Fantastic Four bombed. Because according to him, he left voluntarily because he knew he was going to be fired. That
Right.
Lucasfilm / Kathleen Kennedy was starting to get kind of iffy on him because of that. But there was work. They were going to bring Boba Fett back in a solo movie. They want to do that.
I mean, they were ready to announce it at Celebration.
Right.
Supposedly, Trank has said no.
And he had to bow out of that.
And he lied and said he had the worst flu he's ever had. And didn't go to Celebration and then didn't announce it. And it just never came back from that.
So there's that. And then there's the Aftermath, the bit in Aftermath, where there was some sheriff, quote unquote, that acquired some Mandalorian armor on Tatooine.
That is very heavily implied to have been Boba Fett's, based off of the pock mark in the helmet and the acid marks on it from supposedly being in the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
So not confirmed to be Boba Fett, but heavily implied.
Right.
But I guess that would have been in the Shattered Empire era, same as this. So that's where it's like. I mean,
you think that could have been after this?
It very possibly could be the same guy, and he just gave up the armor. I mean,
yeah. Well, but to have Morrison come back and play,
that's where
or be in this. That's like it has to be.
Or he just plays a clone. I mean,
a clone in Boba Fett's armor. Can you imagine how big of a fuck
you
that would be?
He could just be some rando clone that's going to be in the.
But I'm saying all these dots connect.
He could be Rex for all we know. I mean,
technically,
he could be literally
to
one
have
of
the
thousands
teaser,
of available characters.
To have that teaser in season 1 of the jingle,
right,
with the cape and the boots and everything,
the Boba jingle, Jingle Fett.
Why would you not have Jingle Fett? You have a confirmation that the guy who played Jingle Fett originally is coming back. Why not have Jingle Fett?
Right.
With that insinuation the first time around.
It makes their other canon things they've put out difficult to then work within. So it will be interesting if it is Boba Fett. How does he appear? And
I don't think it does. I think it you could still have both.
I guess
you could have the Aftermath bit either be after this and Boba Fett ends up dying, God forbid, for real, in the show.
Right.
Or
he's in one episode and he dies in that episode.
or I think it's vague enough in Aftermath that that could just be Boba Fett
they're
himself.
bringing Boba Fett back to kill him just to make sure that we all know he's actually dead now.
I mean,
Just in case you weren't sure.
that's not the Filoni way, apparently.
No, it's to bring someone back from the dead and then never let them go.
And never let them die.
Ever
That's what I'm saying.
again.
That's what I'm saying. He's got to
Sure.
bring Boba Fett back, but he's not going to kill him. He's just going to let him ride on.
So here's where things get interesting then. So this is the light bulb just shattered in my brain.
Shattered.
There's blood everywhere.
It's not supposed to. It's supposed to just turn on.
Nope. it was an old bulb. So supposedly Ahsoka's going to be in season 2 as well, right?
That's the other rumor, is that Sabine alongside Ahsoka is going to show up in season 2 at some point.
And more so Ahsoka because
which makes sense because of the Darksaber and all that
well,
stuff.
yes, but also Ahsoka because of what's her face being supposedly cast as Ahsoka.
Yeah, who was that? Was it Tandy?
Oh my gosh, the
Newsom,
woman
was it?
from the Marvel TV shows,
What was
Rosario Dawson.
Right.
So she's supposedly cast as or cast to play someone, supposedly Ahsoka, in season 2 as well. Again, none of this confirmed. So she has only known the clones. But obviously,
Yeah.
if this is Boba Fett, if he's playing Boba Fett, who looks just like the clones, because he is a clone, because Boba Fett was a clone of his father. He was the clone son. It would be very interesting for Ahsoka to meet Boba Fett. Which, by damn it, Filoni would make sure would happen so that everything all up in Ahsoka's
Didn't
business.
she? At some point in the Clone Wars TV show?
Did she?
When Boba Fett was a kid, he was hanging out with Aura Singh and Bosk
Does
and
that count?
what do you mean? Who's
to say that
canon?
mattered?
Is that real?
Well, yeah, sure, maybe as a kid, but she wasn't involved.
It's interesting to me that you're trying to wrap your mind around how they're going to fit the aftermath thing with Boba Fett in from a book, but you can't accept that they can fit in something from a TV show.
No, I just think it would be very interesting to have like Boba Fett, not Baby Fett,
Okay.
And Ahsoka together.
Okay.
It would also be really weird to have like actual Boba Fett, Tamura Morrison, and actual Ahsoka, like real people together too.
True.
It's just that thing of like
A
that would
mashup.
actually be really cool.
Yeah.
As much as I love Ahsoka as a character, she's really cool, but she can't be in everything.
Right.
Despite what Filoni's doing, she
You
may
know,
very well be in everything. But
Every time
at
this
some
comes
point-
up, all I can think about is at least it's not Ezra. At
Well,
least we're not getting Ezra everywhere.
not yet.
Because
Sure.
I mean, I would kill
Yeah,
myself.
I guess if Filoni's gonna attach to a character, at least it wasn't
Let
him.
it be a good character.
Right. So I mean, I think just from a
He's only good character.
just from a like that'd be really cool aspect. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
So
you're saying-
otherwise,
you're saying
it's interesting
there's-
how they would introduce him.
You're saying it's just as likely that he could be a clone that's with Ahsoka too?
I mean, he could be Rex. I mean, he is the clones, right? Tamara Morrison is the clones. So he could be Rex with Ahsoka. He could be literally any one of the clones that are. He could just be a nobody clone too. I mean, he could
Do you
play
think-
any of them.
Do you No, that's kind of a stretch. I was going to say, do you think he's the client?
Boba Fett?
Yeah. Or not, or no, because what's his name was the client? Werner Herzog. He was the client, right?
No,
Who's
he was doing this for the actual client.
No, but he in the show he was referred to as the client, though, wasn't he?
He was, but
That's what I'm
then you
saying.
heard him and the doctor.
But yeah, he was talking
how
about
he
somebody
was
else, and
doing
that's-
this basically for
That's what
someone
I'm
else.
saying, right? That he was that guy the client was talking about.
Right.
But that's kind of a stretch. I don't know. I think that's connecting dots where they probably don't need to be connected.
Or yeah, maybe it is Boba Fett and he's just on the bounty as well, trying to get the baby.
Right.
I mean, it's possible.
I wonder if he's part of the guild. Do you think?
Well,
Maybe.
I wonder how that. I mean, obviously they adopt people. You know, at least the Mandalorians, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's called the Mandalorian. He's not a Mandalorian. He
Mhm.
was, a foundling. But do we really have? I mean, for Django and Boba, they weren't really ever. I mean, they had a crest and they had a signet and all that,
Yeah, but they didn't follow the way,
but they didn't follow the way,
right? Yeah.
So I wonder if that would play into it as well. I wonder how they feel about him.
Well, that's kind of that's been the thing all along with Django and Boba is that they
They
have armor, but they
were
aren't.
nothing.
No one knows if they're actually Mandalorians or not. You know?
Well, yeah, I mean they're not. They're not Mandalorian by blood. I don't think they're not from Mandalore.
Django could be. It's possible, but he doesn't. Like you said, he doesn't follow
They're
the
not
way.
part of. Yeah. So I wonder how.
Is he an ex-Mandalorian? Maybe.
I wonder how the group. The armorer.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian. I wonder
What
how
they
they
feel
feel
about-
Django and Boba Fett.
I would love to have that explored.
Because I mean, if he comes back, that would be a super interesting thing to explore. Because Django
The
and
interaction
Boba have
between-
never really been involved with the actual Mandalorians.
Yeah.
Even in the stuff in Clone
the interaction
in-
between Din and Boba.
right,
I would want to see that,
And
or even just the armorer,
and even just in the Clone Wars and stuff like that. I mean, even
something like that.
Boba as a child was never really involved with the actual Mandalorian stuff that happened.
No,
All-
he
any
was
of that-
always in the bounty hunter circles.
right.
Yeah,
So I wonder how those people that are straight up Mandalorian have their creed.
hmm
I wonder if they even. I mean, because Boba Fett's a pretty big name in the bounty hunter game,
Right.
So I wonder how they even feel because they have to know who he is. So I wonder how they feel about him. And that
I would
be-
imagine they feel like he's an imposter.
that would be something, especially for Din being the correct, quote correct
Right,
version
right.
of the bounty hunter Mandalorian. That would be a really interesting thing to explore about how they view him
Yeah.
as someone that exists and runs around besmirching their way of life.
Yeah, a real loyalist like
Right.
that. Yeah,
And that would give Boba Fett, this Boba Fett, this timeline of Boba Fett, a lot more depth too.
yeah. That's the one thing I hope is that bringing him back, they have a purpose for it, or something to explore
Sure.
that would be deep like that, and they're not just bringing him back
Yeah.
just for the
Just for the shock factor,
yeah
or the
the
fan
shit
service.
your pants fan service thing.
We had all the stuff with Boba as a kid, but we never really got him turning into, Boba Fett, that we know from
Right,
the films.
the real one. Yeah, sure.
So it would be at least, yeah, like you said, I wouldn't want it just to be fan service, but actually giving depth to that character who all we ever saw in the films was kind of suck at his job.
Right.
Because honestly, as cool as he looked, and that's
Well,
all,
it's
that's
kinda
the only
like-
thing he survived off of was how cool he looked. Otherwise, he didn't do really that great.
Yeah.
He fell into a pit.
This is a little different because we had way more with him, but it's kind of like the same with Vader, where we got this taste of how badass Vader was at fighting and using the Force and stuff like that from comics and
Sure.
video games and stuff. And then we finally got a taste of that in real life in Rogue One at the end.
Right.
Like, they're kind of adding that depth in live action
Sure. Yeah.
to him there that we didn't get from the other times we saw him. I'm hoping, that happens in the same way for Boba here, like
Yeah.
you're saying.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah. Something else with season 2, Robert Rodriguez is confirmed as a director along with Peyton Reed.
Yeah.
They're going to be directing a couple episodes, and the best news of all, David Filoni is only going to be directing one episode this season.
Good for him. That will be the one that Ahsoka's in.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably honestly, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, I mean,
I'm excited. I'm
Rodriguez and Peyton
excited.
Reed directing episodes is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like did they put out a list of all the directors like they did for the first season? I don't remember there being
No.
one like that yet.
No, not that I have seen.
I know that Taika Waititi's not returning to do an episode, to direct an episode.
And there's a good reason for that. And let's get to
obviously it
that.
makes sense now. Yes.
Yeah, so we have the 2022, 2024, and 2026 Star Wars movies that are still on.
Yeah, because they put out an updated release schedule during
On
all
the schedule.
during all the coronavirus stuff, and
Right.
those were still slated for those dates.
And just confirmed the other day, Taika Waititi is coming back
Yes.
to direct a
Yes.
movie, a real
Yes.
Star Wars movie, his
Yes.
own movie. He's going to direct and he's going to co-write it with Christy Wilson Carnes of
Cairns.
1917 fame. She's gonna
Award-winning.
write co-write the screenplay.
Yeah.
No release date announced for that yet, but most likely gonna be the 2022. Well, I don't. It may be the 2024 movie because he's got his Thor movie. Taika has his Thor movie coming out in
Right.
between now and
Yes,
then.
the was it Thunder?
Love and Thunder or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's next year or 2022.
Right. I mean, it was obviously just announced, so there's literally everything to do before the movie can
Right.
exist.
Right.
So
Most likely 2024.
4 years, yeah, that's
Which
possible.
leaves 2022. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with that yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's been for that being literally 2 years away, and it being a Star Wars thing. Typically, we would have something leaked by now about what it would be,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't, which is weird.
Yeah.
So, did they finally figure out how to keep the secrets from us, or is it? I mean, yeah, is it any? One of the number of things that they were working on, like a Boba Fett film or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what if Boba Fett? What if Tamara Morrison coming back isn't for Mandalorian, but they're actually going through with the Boba Fett film? I mean,
I don't see the first movie after all this being a spinoff. I don't know about that. I feel like Lucasfilm needs to set
yeah.
The-
but where are you gonna go?
set the slate, like set the groundwork for the next, what's going to be the next thing for Star Wars,
Yeah, but
like if they were going to do a
that's-
spin-off movie, I think that would fit on Disney Plus better
It
better
would.
than a feature release like this.
yeah,
Especially with them having
no idea.
announced 3 movies coming up,
Right. Yeah, I just it's strange to me that there hasn't even been even like a messy leak that doesn't necessarily have
Yeah,
you know,
anything.
anything
We don't
to
have
hold on
any
to.
hints.
There's just nothing.
Yeah.
Not even we got this covered. Hasn't released some shitty idea.
I mean, we've heard more about like the secrecy around the Lord of the Rings TV show,
Right.
about how locked down that is, and yet we still have things from that coming out.
Right.
Like hints
Yeah.
about what that's going to
Exactly.
be about. So it's kind of crazy. I mean, there's the Kevin Feige thing. There was a rumor about him coming in to do something
Right.
with Star Wars, whether it's direct a movie or head up a story group or something. I don't know what. Maybe he's 2022. Who knows?
Yeah. That's
That's so close.
pre-production would
you
have to
know?
be taking place this year for
Right.
them to shoot next year.
Right.
So,
right. It's so close. It just, I don't know how that's going to work out.
I mean, with Celebration happening this year,
No, I think it's going to get canceled.
I mean, most
they
things
haven't said
will.
yet,
I
but
assume they'll have some sort of. I mean, they probably had whatever this is was probably going to get announced at Celebration. I mean, 2022, you have to announce it at this.
was that supposed to be this month? Or no, it was later in the year, wasn't it? Was it later in the year?
I think it was. I mean, I would figure if something wasn't coming in 2022, it would have been announced at Celebration this year.
Yeah.
With that not happening, I assume it's later in August. It was like end of August.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
I would assume. I guess we'll get an announcement about what the 2022 film is going to be sometime around then. I doubt we're going to be having conventions by August.
Right.
So they're
I'm sure there'll be
probably
some kind of virtual
they'll
thing.
probably do something online.
Yeah.
That you'll have to wait in some kind of read pop queue for 6 hours and still not be able to buffer the video. For anyone that's been to Celebration, that's really funny.
To
Just so we're clear.
to simulate the the real experience.
They really want you to be fuming like you're there about how you can't get to anything because nothing works.
The only thing that would make it better is if you had paid hundreds and hundreds of dollars
Read
to
pop,
be able to
the only
be
people
there.
that can literally not figure out how lines work.
For years
Physical.
and years at this point.
Yeah. For
They've had so many opportunities to practice.
so many conventions.
It's what they do.
I understand where technology breaks down, and a website queue to like pre-order something, maybe just you trash the server, but a physical line on the ground, it's hard to not just make that work. But they've found a way
to know what it's for, where it goes,
Yeah.
how many people should be in it,
to crash the server of
the
of
order
real life.
of people that should be in it.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, prepare to wait in a online queue
To know more
never
about
be able
one
to
of these
find the
movies.
video. It's going to be an online celebration, but they're still going to cut it to black when they show a trailer. So the people that are there
They'll only play it in the empty room.
right.
Yes.
They would do that. Yeah, so I assume 2022 will get something later in August, I hope.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's a new Disney Plus show coming too.
From the creator and writer of Russian Dolls, which is really exciting.
A very interesting person to attach to
Yeah.
Star Wars show.
No release date for that one yet. It's been described as a female-centric series that takes place in a different part of the Star Wars timeline than other projects. So whether that's the current timeline or this new one that's coming out in the books and comics and stuff. The High Republic time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I forgot about all that stuff that was announced, and then
Project
the world
Luminous.
fell apart.
Those books are coming out
That's-
within the next couple months, right? Or is that at the end of the year?
Later
that
this year,
stuff.
yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, you've still got the other shows. Cassian shows moving forward. It has a new showrunner.
You still got
Additional
Obi-Wan.
actors have been announced.
Mm-hmm.
Some-
Stellan Skarsgård was announced for the Cassian Andor series.
Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård, and then
And one other
the
person.
actress that played Mon Mothma from Rogue
Right.
One
Yep.
is attached as well.
Right.
So there's that's
Still moving forward.
And so just so this is something that bothered me, that when they announced in the verbiage of announcing Stellan Skarsgård being attached. So Stellan Skarsgård is
Huge.
he's Stellan Skarsgård,
Yeah.
right? Co-star Stellan Skarsgård, in parentheses, listing some of his works: Pirates of the Caribbean, At World's End, Good Will Hunting.
What?
So if you're gonna list things that Stellan Skarsgård has been in, Good Will Hunting, I'm on board, right? That's obviously, it's been a long time.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
We have to mention the first one because
Is that by like box office numbers or something?
I don't know. That made.
How do you decide that?
He is a very famous man from a lot of very famous works.
Very good movies.
And one of the Pirates of the Caribbean films would not be something I would care to mention that he was ever in.
That doesn't make sense.
That's all. That's all I had for that. Just the man's been in a lot of stuff.
A lot.
And that's not one of them that we should remember. I mean, at that point, just list Mamma Mia. He was in that. I guess what else we gonna put? He was in Age of Ultron. Name something else that did well other than Pirates of the Caribbean: At World's End. The one that I don't even know.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember what is in that movie. There's been like 2 or 3 ones after that, right?
Yeah,
You know
I
that?
try not to remember
I
that.
think I've seen all of them, but I
No,
don't know.
No. There have been like at least 3, I'm pretty sure, that I don't know the name of.
There was one with Blackbeard,
Sure.
and then another one with someone who was kind of like Blackbeard, right?
Blacker beard.
Bigger Blackbeard.
It's me, blackest beard.
No, it can't be that, because then where do you go after that? You got Blackbeard, you got Blacker Beard, you got Dark Beard.
Dark beard. Oh no. It'd be me, Vanta Blackbeard. Just the beard that you can't see because it's so black.
No light reflects off me beard. It's the darkest beard ye ever seen. So those are things to be excited about.
Hold off. Pirates of the Caribbean is being rebooted and we'll have a new trilogy.
Wow.
I'm
I almost said so soon, but
not.
so many of those movies were made that it's probably about time.
It's like if someone told me that Transformers was being rebooted.
I mean, Fantastic Four was rebooted after one movie.
Well, it should have been. And that it should be again.
You're right.
We're just going to keep trying till we get it right, damn it. One of these days.
Well, that's like Spider-Man. I mean, how many tries have they had at Spider-Man?
They finally got
got it right.
The third time was the charm. Because the Andrew Garfield ones weren't. They weren't.
I mean,
no.
When you put wow, I just forgot his name. Paul Giamatti.
Yeah,
when you put Paul Giamatti in a Spider-Man movie,
yeah,
you might be a redneck.
Great. When you put him in a Spider-Man movie as Rhino.
Yeah. Right.
Sure. That's the first guy I think of when I think of Rhino.
And was it Jamie Foxx?
Yeah,
as Electro?
Electro, yes.
Ay, ay, ay.
Right. No. Mm-mm. So yeah, Stellan Skarsgård. He was in
I'll say Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio was perfect.
Yeah, it was really good
in the latest one. Yeah, they finally got it right.
Yes, that was. I feel like each Spider-Man movie has only gotten better.
Yeah. The only thing it needs is Kirsten Dunst as MJ. She was the best MJ.
That's what we all need.
No more Zendaya. This is my campaign for life.
Michael hates Zendaya.
You know about this
for some reason, and
I don't like Zendaya.
I think she's really good as MJ. Obviously, it's a vastly different MJ than we've had before. Just from the way her character is, because it's always been that like high schooly white girl like cheerleader type.
Yes.
Because that's how she was in the comics. So the Zendaya character is, despite her being not white as she was in the comics, has nothing to do with it. Her whole persona.
It's very different. She's a very different character.
Yeah, it's very different. And I think it fits the tone.
The character
of the
is fine. I don't care about the character. I don't like Zendaya. I don't like the person.
I don't get it. I just don't understand. She's done nothing wrong, but exist apparently to you.
Zendaya broke into my home, Tyler.
She comes to you in the night? She tells you her secrets?
She whispers her dark secrets to me.
Man, why did I get New Bob and you got Zendaya? I will trade.
Well, yeah, that's true. I would probably take Zendaya over New Bob. Sorry, New Bob.
New Bob's not my dad.
That's the episode title.
New Bob's not my dad.
No, we'll see.
Oh, no.
Okay, well, we can both agree that Zendaya should go.
to break in my home. To tell me her secrets. Yes.
Tell me your secrets, Zendaya. Whisper to me, Zendaya.
Tell me about Dune.
Okay, all right. If she's in my home telling me Dune secrets, I'll take that. I'll take it.
What does Oscar Isaac's beard smell like? That the whole Dune. I'm
Despite
very excited about Dune.
my misgivings about her being in Dune to begin with.
She's perfect for that character.
If she tells me about Dune, okay. Separate her from Dune and just tell me about Dune.
She's perfect for that character in Dune, though. I don't understand your problems.
Oh, and the Shazbot in it too. We'll see. Mr. Paul. Mr. Atreides.
Yeah. Well,
Other things.
other things.
Now can I spend an hour talking about
Lightsaber.
my
book?
mixed feelings about the Rise of Skywalker documentary?
I guess you can. I don't think there's any other.
We've been
film
talking
news
about-
or TV news.
We've been talking for an hour, but this is
Well,
the first episode in 2 months, so I think we need another
the
hour.
only other thing was The Mandalorian season 2 is in post production, and they're still working on it remotely. Thankfully, they
right.
can still do that.
Which, speaking of my Black Series child figure,
Did it arrive?
huh?
Did you get it?
It's shipping,
Oh, I got my Black Series child figure,
and I
it
should
is
be clear.
as tall as one knuckle. It's fantastic. I'll show it to you after this.
And to be clear, this is the child from the series. It's not just a general child. I did
Star Wars Black Series collection. A child. It's just one of the background kids from a pod race. Just a child. It's not even a Jetster or whatever
This
his
is
name
the
was.
child.
Yeah. The Black Series 6-inch child figure is literally as tall as one knuckle. Like
That's
from
great.
fingertip to the end of my first knuckle. That's how tall he is.
So it's in proportion to the,
the
6-inch,
It's
Mandalorian
to scale
figure.
of the 6-inch characters.
Right, which is great.
But yeah, which is fantastic. Anyway, so the season 2 is in post production. They're able to work on it remotely. But the thing I was reading about it was how they were saying how difficult, obviously, that's been, and I can't imagine. But how a blockbuster film like Endgame has maybe 2,000 VFX shots, and the effects director was saying how season 1 of Mandalorian had about 4,000. And season 2 is about the same.
Jeez.
Which, I mean, we were talking about this before we started recording, how that totally makes sense, where pretty much every shot the child is in is going to be a VFX shot,
Yeah.
unless you can hide the puppetry
Right.
for some of the ones that are more robotic. But yeah, and then they have the same amount of time or less time to then work on the post-production of all of those VFX shots as a major budget film would.
Jeez.
So they're trying to do that, and now remotely as well.
Right.
But it's supposedly still coming. I think it was October, right?
Mhm.
Is when season 2
Yeah,
comes out. So
this year.
that's exciting. I'm glad that one was able. I'm glad that was in a place where it was done before all this hit, because then we wouldn't have had anything new Star Wars for a while,
Yeah.
which would have sucked.
Yeah, that feels like the one thing that they've really figured out at this point. Like season 1 was excellent.
It was really good.
They seem like they know what they're doing
Right.
in a way that the new sequel did not feel like. The new sequel did not. I mean, it did not feel like they had a goal and they executed that goal.
Well, I mean, Ryan Johnson
well.
didn't do his homework apparently.
Fuck you.
No,
According to
fuck
fuck
Sam
Sam Witwer.
he can stop talking now. Sam Witwer is saying too many things about.
Who did you
Star
say that
Wars.
about else in the Star Wars community? There was somebody else that needed to just stop talking. Who was it?
Anyone involved in the Rise of Skywalker? Probably
Okay,
the writer, the
that's what it
writer, the
was.
editor. Not the director, because he's never spoken about the film since making it.
That's
He
true.
took his dump and flushed the toilet. He's out.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so speaking of,
Speaking of his dump,
I watched the making of
Making
the Rise
of
of
the dump.
Skywalker. Making of.
you watched the meal that made the dump. That wasn't- I still enjoy the film, but
I was thinking about that too. I have so much to say about this. Overall, the documentary is excellent. I mean, it's one of the best making of documentaries that I've seen. I mean, it's on like Lord of the Rings level. Obviously we didn't get a commentary. We didn't even get freaking deleted scenes from the movie, which
No, because it's
which
perfect.
pissed me off. But
They didn't have to delete anything because it was perfect.
this one was great. They edited in footage that at least I've never seen before of original trilogy era Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and Harrison Ford talking about Star Wars and talking about the characters and all that stuff. And it's excellent. It's really good.
Nice.
But it's still in the context of making this movie.
Right.
So after you have seen this movie, I mean, you could watch the documentary separate from seeing the movie and it would be great. I mean, it's incredible what they did and how they did it. And like the whole Pasana sequence with the desert and all those costumes and the choreography and all that stuff. It's mind blowing. But again, it's in the context of this movie, and this movie was not good. I mean, I can't say that it was a good, and I know I've said before on this show that I think the net result of the movie was good, that it had its problems, but overall it was good. But I don't know anymore. I don't know if I could say that.
I mean, this is, I think, the things we've said before, but from a storytelling perspective, it just wasn't well written.
Right.
You can feel the gaps in story that in
Yeah.
the story they were trying to tell, where they're definitely cut out stuff like stuff on Mustafar and other things that they probably wanted to tell us, but cut out of the film. But of course, there's no deleted scenes or commentary talking about why they cut it.
Well,
And
that's the thing, though, is this is probably who I was thinking of, Chris Terrio,
yeah,
talking about the movie and how he's come out several times now, and then even in the documentary explaining why they made certain decisions to
and they're bad
include
reasons.
and exclude. Yeah, it's like, just put that stuff in the movie. This is stuff we want to know, just from a
Right.
story perspective, how this happened.
Right.
And you're saying you talked about it and you had some of it figured out, but you decided to cut it?
Well, it's like the whole thing with
Or not
with
include it?
with the tank of Snokes, where they were saying, like, the editor and I think Chris were saying how they thought that just explained everything that we needed to know,
No.
and like how they thought that was a really good idea, how that was good enough to explain everything.
Yeah.
No, 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 that's not how storytelling works.
There were so many times in the making of where, obviously, this was all recorded before the movie came out and before it was all edited together and all that stuff. So you have the actors talking about it. You've got, Chris Terrio talking about stuff. You have JJ in there a little bit talking about stuff. And like, it's just all hubris.
Like, it seems like they're up their own ass about how well they're doing wrapping this up.
Yeah. And how just excited, they're so excited to get this out because this is just going to be great. And yeah, I don't know. And it was really, really disappointing too, to see pretty much all the actors talk about how they were so glad to have JJ back and to have the old crew back. And I get that. They have all these people that they built a
family.
relationship
Yeah,
with.
they started this with these people, so
Right.
I'm
I
sure
get
it's
that.
comfortable to finish it with
right.
them.
But there were so many things like that the way it was said, especially like Daisy Ridley said that a couple times.
Right.
The way it was said, it was like the whole Ryan Johnson thing was a bad experience. And that's just really, really disappointing to hear.
Right.
Or maybe not bad experience, but it was a jarring experience for them.
I mean, yeah, multiple people have come out
and how
said things about that the Ryan, about The Last Jedi, where John Boyega has been pretty vocal about
he
how
disagreed with his character's direction.
His character's storyline, but he's even said that in For Rise of Skywalker as well. Now, where
really?
like how much of his character's development was cut and like didn't go anywhere.
Wow.
While he was glad that Finn was brought back into the picture, more so, like, he still wasn't satisfied with really where it went.
Yeah.
And yeah, that whole thing of them being just up their ass about how this is, almost like what we deserve. to get, and I don't feel that it was, because it was just bad storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately.
And that, like, people like Mark, obviously they had the original trilogy stuff from Mark, but they had a little bit of current stuff from Mark too, and how he was just on the same kind of kick that he's been on in interviews and
Right.
stuff of, like, Luke is a positive character. He's an optimist. He sees the good in everyone, and talking about how he was glad to get back to that in this movie, the true nature of Luke's
Right.
character. And it's just so disappointing thinking about how there has to be an arc to get to that point. He has to go
Right.
through
Yeah, that's
the
how
fall.
storytelling works. That's
Right.
Yeah, you have character arcs.
Right. That's what makes the coming back to optimism so deep, is the fact that he had the dark
Right. If you were
period.
always the same way, it wouldn't really matter. It
Right.
wouldn't mean anything.
So, I mean, we've talked about that so much, but
yeah.
just like, the doc is definitely worth watching,
Right.
if only to see just some of the crazy stuff that they did for this movie.
Yeah.
But it's also very interesting to watch from this perspective, from just seeing how, like, Chris Terrio talk about how he just had everything figured out and he had an answer for everything.
But even he
and
has been
this was the
very-
movie that we got.
But even he has been very quick to say how he really needed 2 movies to tell the story. I mean, he said
enough,
that.
I
He said
guess,
that a
but
lot. So I mean, the amount of stuff that got cut and they just.
But do you
had
really
to
think the
leave us with
problem?
assumptions.
Do you really think the core problem is that there wasn't enough time?
I think
Stuff was
the
jammed in
things-
there
the
for
things
sure.
That were
but
so jammed and like, wait, where'd that come from? Type of thing, where it was just so suddenly this is where we are. They obviously could have fleshed all of that out a lot more.
yeah, I
If
guess.
they had the time to, we probably would have had the stuff with Mustafar. We may have even gotten the Palpatine announcement to the Republic, to the New Republic, that he's returned, and given us context into how we got to where we were when the film started.
The thing, though, that makes me think that we wouldn't have gotten that kind of stuff is they had time to include. I don't know. I can't even think of an example. There was time to include certain things that they could, like the whole Snoke thing. That could have been lengthened.
Sure.
Some other part of the movie could have been taken,
Right.
in order to have a little bit more of that. So to have, I don't know. I don't think the only problem is the lack of time.
Yeah, probably.
And it would make it 2.5 hours. Add an extra 10, 15 minutes to
Sure.
it.
Right.
Why is that a problem?
Right. I mean, I've never been for Chris Terrio or Serio. I mean, I was never super confident in him being the writer
I guess.
already.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did feel like there was just a lot of assumptions made about how it would just make sense to people.
Yeah.
When I hate to say it, but this is, as much as I love, as amazing as the film is, from a, like you were saying, just the effects, the visual, the production of the film is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But from a storytelling perspective, like, it's probably one of my least favorite Star Wars films.
Right, which I think that's what I was getting to when I said the net result of the movie was good. It's
Right.
Or I mean, to say that it's not, I still enjoy watching it. It's not a terrible movie, but it's just not a great Star Wars movie. But I think for the same reasons that, like, Force Awakens, you could say isn't a great Star Wars movie, or, like,
Maybe.
just general kind of problems. I don't know.
Possibly. I mean, it is what it is.
Just looking back through our conversation when I was watching this, they don't mention anything about how the writing process and the all of that would, like all the missteps and all the
Sure.
bumps in the road that happened
Right.
during that. They don't mention anything about that. They skip over all of that.
Of course not.
All they had in there about writing was the answers, and yeah, it
Mhm.
took a little while. We had to fight to get there and blah, blah, blah. But, they have it all figured out. It's all answered. And then the thing about Daisy Ridley talking about how it was so good to have the real Luke, quote unquote,
Yeah.
back, which is kind of what I said earlier.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
But yeah, so I definitely go watch it. It's a frustrating experience if you have problems with
Right.
the new movie.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It makes sense.
I don't know.
I
There's
mean,
just
that's always been the kicker is the Chris who should not talk about the movie anymore. The stuff he keeps saying like that, where it's just the assumptions they make with the writing and how they think what they provided was a suitable form of storytelling. I'm not even a film writer, and I know that some of the things they did are not good forms of storytelling. Like just from a viewer perspective that has very limited knowledge into writing, I know that is not how you write. And I've seen writers talk about things like specifically the Snoke thing and how,
Yeah.
that assumption they made. Like that's not, you can't just show a thing and make the assumption that everyone's on board with what your assumption is.
Especially given the context. We don't know.
We have no
we
idea.
have no idea. We're looking to this movie to answer that question.
Right.
And a vat of Snoke that's not an answer.
Right.
That's a result. That's not. Yeah, it's frustrating. And the doc actually skips over that completely. It doesn't talk about.
Sure.
I mean, it talks about Palpatine coming back and how they wanted to have Palpatine come back, but skips over Snoke completely.
Yeah.
Doesn't get into why he existed, or they consider that question answered as far as I can tell.
Right. Which, yeah.
Which, thanks to Pablo having to scramble in the visual dictionary, I think that's.
Well, I mean, even Palpatine coming back, they didn't answer.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, that's something cool. You should tell us.
Cloning, dark magic.
Yeah.
Answered.
Microwave, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. It's fresh. Yeah, it's just that same whole thing of just the assuming that what they provided was so good when just from a generic storytelling standpoint, it was bad forms of storytelling.
Yeah.
And that for me is where it takes me out of it. It's just like it's not how things work.
Yeah.
Like no one would just go along with half the things that are happening, even in a fictional universe.
And honestly, I want a reason to like this movie. I really do, because there are parts of it that are great. I think the Ben Skywalker, like I've said many, many times, or Ben Solo. I think Ben's storyline is excellent. His redemption is excellent. I think the way Rey fits into that is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they wrapped it up perfectly in this movie.
Sure.
I don't have any problems with it. But yeah, so I want reasons to like this movie. If go out and watch the doc and argue with me that I'm wrong about about all of this.
Again, is that
I want to hear from somebody.
The result was good. I mean, the way it ended, the story, the arcs for specific characters, I think was good, but the way it got there didn't make a hell of a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It was very forced.
Very forced.
Suspend disbelief to the point of just don't have reason.
Don't ask.
Yeah, don't ask.
Just
questions.
accept.
This thing happened. It's like, I don't know, finding a hamburger in my kitchen and just be like, dinner.
Right.
I'm not going to question it. Where the hell does hamburger come from? No one else is in the house.
Right.
Why is there a hot hamburger on the counter? I guess I'll eat it.
With your name written on it.
Right, with my name burned into the bun. Wow, it's a burger for me. All right. No questions.
That's Rise of Skywalker. It's the burger on your kitchen counter when you're home alone.
The secret burger.
The secret burger. Yes, I mean, so as much as I want to find someone else who loves The Last Jedi as much as I do,
Me. You found me.
I would also love to find someone who can argue with me and have some good points to back up why Rise of Skywalker is good, but I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I don't think you could argue that Rise of Skywalker is a good.
It's just not
movie.
a well-written film. I mean, that's
Yeah.
again, that's my whole sticking point. It's just it's not good writing.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't explain your film's own arc. You threw us into an arc that it was somehow. That's the biggest. That's always the thing, right? That's where
Yeah.
any writer comes back to, where one of the biggest plot points of the film is explained with the word somehow.
Yeah.
Somehow Palpatine returned. Anyways, here's the rest of the film.
Right.
That's
The very
you can't-
beginning.
You cannot.
First foot forward. That's what.
the premise of your story cannot be somehow.
Right.
It's like having an alt history, novel, a
Mhm.
fictionalized universe where, it's Wolfenstein, where, the Nazis did win. Somehow the Nazis won. Anyways, here's a story in that universe where that happened.
You're like,
There's important information.
what am I fighting for? Why is this happening?
Right.
Why should I care about this?
Or you then go and answer that. There's comics like Why the Last Man, where it's like somehow all the men died but one. We're going to use the rest of this series to then explain that.
Exactly.
Not just you don't start with somehow and then that be the end of the somehow. And, that's the question and the
Right.
answer.
You plant a seed that grows. You don't plant the whole damn tree. And here it is.
Yeah, right. The question is somehow Palpatine returned. The answer is somehow Palpatine returned. There's nothing in between. So just a whole film predicated on somehow from a storytelling perspective, Star Wars or not, that's not,
Right.
that's not storytelling.
Right.
You didn't tell. There was never a telling. There's barely story.
You were
Somehow
saying-
is not a story.
Just saying. Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
That it'll always come back to somehow. I can't watch that film and hear that line and not be like, well, here we go.
You
Here
know,
goes a
another
bunch of stuff that never gets explained.
another thing was at the very end, having the final climactic moment, or the triumphant moment, I should say, be all those ships. It's like, I don't know. I mean, part of the doc. It's who is it? Matthew Wood talking about the noise they use for Palpatine's lightning.
Oh yeah.
And how JJ was
The
like,
brown note.
how they created it, which is a cool moment. I like that
Yeah.
moment in the film. But he said it was less distorted at first, and JJ kept coming in and saying more. I want it bigger, until finally it was just distorting. It was overloading so much the sound, so it was just distorting, and you got that just kind of low beep whatever it was.
Low beep.
That's a good metaphor for the ending of the movie, because it was like JJ came in and was like, no, more, it has to be bigger, there's got to be more explosions, ships.
Right.
It doesn't mean
Lens
anything.
flare.
It doesn't mean anything. It's cool that the galaxy united, but really, I mean, Lando and Chewie went around and got thousands of ships to show up. I mean, I don't know. It just it's such a small part.
That's more forgivable and explained away than somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying it's such a small thing to complain about, but it's one of those little things. There's so many of those little things in the movie, other than the very big thing, like what you're talking about. That's just like, oh, it's so close, but
Right.
it just feels wrong. Just
Yeah.
a bunch of ships. That's how this ends?
I mean, what are you going to do when you already have set up an impenetrable amount of ships defending Palpatine? I mean,
Yeah.
you have to then, you know,
You got to have more ships.
again, that all of that being again more of a somehow.
Right.
Where'd all these come from?
Yeah.
Here?
Doesn't matter. We're here
how'd
now.
they get there?
Shoot, shoot, shoot.
they're-
Done.
they're here.
It's solved. The problem's solved. We
Right.
win. The end. Let's hug.
Why is this burger in my house? It's there. What do you want?
Yeah.
There's a burger.
Obviously, eat
Why
it.
are you complaining?
No. JJ is the person in your house pushing that burger into your mouth, telling you to be quiet.
Someone breaking into your house and then arguing with you how they got there. Why am I here? As they're stealing your shit. I don't know.
It's the hot dog man. Or I think you should leave.
It's just, yeah, it's that.
We're the people questioning why the hot dog man is here. You're the one who crashed that hot dog car. And he's not even acknowledging it.
Right, yeah, it's. Yeah, there's just a lot of somehows that some of the things don't need explanation, like, Chewie and Lando bringing back ships, or even, a herd of people on horses running down a Star Destroyer. Like that, okay, whatever.
What's so funny though is
The biggest plot points all existing around somehow.
there's that
And
that
the cool
lack of
and the cool factor.
there's that lack of explanation, and then they invent things to over explain, like the whole Lando having a daughter insinuation. We don't need that.
Yeah, what does that
Why
do
does
for
she
an-
need to
what
be
does that
his
do for
daughter?
anything.
No, just stop it.
Right,
That doesn't need to happen. Why are you spending time on this?
right.
You know,
Sure, yeah. It's
the whole Poe's backstory being a smuggler or a spice runner. Sorry.
yeah.
Why do we need that? Who cares? She knows him. Why does he need to be exactly what Han was? You know,
Right.
why spend time on that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why develop that character that direction now where we've had enough development for that character
Right.
in the last two films?
Right.
Like,
Why explain
we
that now?
understand how he got to where he is.
If you knew where you were going, why not plant that seed in Force Awakens?
Sure. Right.
You know? Yeah, they didn't, like I
mean,
said, they didn't know where
no,
they were going.
No, he did.
They don't have it figured out.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked
Which-
about that.
So
many
so
times.
much, yeah.
So hopefully there's another movie at some point when films are allowed to exist again. In the year 2025, when films have returned.
I hope the next try at this, they've learned from their mistakes.
The reboot.
Well, God, no. I hope there's never a reboot.
I mean, we keep talking about that. At what point does Star Wars get rebooted? Can you?
I don't think you can. Honestly, I
How
don't.
many people have to die before Star Wars can get rebooted?
I don't think you can. Can you?
No, I don't think you can either. It's so
Think about
ingrained.
like Mad Max, for example. That could have been
Sure.
rebooted so many times before
Sure.
now, but then George Miller came back and just made a sequel.
Well, I mean, the fact that Star Wars has existed for so damn long and everyone's been brought in at different points, but it's all built on itself in so many ways. There's no way to ever try and start it again.
Right.
You just have to.
You just
build it.
have to
You just have
add
to
to
make
it.
a new story.
Yeah. And I think
which
there's
they
room.
still, which they've done in The Mandalorian so far successfully.
Yeah.
While it's still tied to things in the universe.
There's enough room in the universe to do that. It doesn't have to be.
I'm interested in
Rethought.
I'm interested in the film or the story in whatever capacity that we get that does not have the Empire or the Republic involved. How do you do that?
The Mandalorian's
And can you do
close
that?
to that?
I mean, the Shattered Empire is pretty
There's the
well
remnants.
involved. I mean, you've got
And the New Republic
Gus
references
Fring,
and
Star
stuff.
Wars Gus Fring, involved. And so the Empire's involved too, pretty, integral to the story. No, it's just that at what point can we go somewhere else in that universe where the Force and stuff like that exist, but it has nothing to do with the Empire or the Republic? Is that possible, and can you do it?
It'd have to be in the future. But yeah.
There's always, I mean, yeah, because we're in such a small corner of the galaxy, right?
Well, yeah, but it's the Galactic Empire. I mean, if you go back before,
Even the Republic, though, is all encompassing of that part of the galaxy.
that's what I'm saying. You have to go beyond. You have to go to the future, like the far future. You can't go back because
Future or unknown regions. Like, it has to end up being like, I don't know, the Chiss or something. Like, just some part of the galaxy that just is straight up not involved with any of this shit at all.
yeah,
And has their own stuff going on. I mean, you've got the Chiss and the Grisk that are having their whole
yeah,
galactic war on the other side of the asteroids, that no one was privy to until they came into
Mhm.
our space and started messing stuff up. So,
That is interesting. Thinking about the Force as we know it is the perspective of, or the perspective that's been influenced by the Jedi
right.
and all their studying and understanding of the Force. So, I guess we have talked about this before, but what's the perspective on the Force away from that, separated from?
I mean, the only thing we have
that.
at that point is the Chiss and how they view it with the younglings that end up having Force abilities that they use as navigators,
Right.
who then
Totally different application.
who are never trained or try to proceed into it, and then once their abilities are lost, they're basically dispatched.
Mhm.
Unless someone like
What's her name?
or not someone like what's her name that's still around? I
Right.
forget her name.
From the books.
Orthron himself, who possibly
has some
has
kind
some
of Force
capacity.
connection. Yeah. Right.
Where they don't view it as a force or a thing that can be developed. It's just an innate thing that some people have.
Right.
But I mean, at that point, you just end up with, I don't know, you just end up with Avatar. I don't know, where it's just this power that encompasses, and let's braid our hair.
That's what that's what I'm thinking. I don't know if you could go out of the galaxy proper and have a whole extended time.
Yeah,
because you do kind of need that reference point.
That's what I wonder
we
with all these
know.
things that keep saying it happens in a completely different place with completely different people in a completely different time, but then it's always going to loop back in some way to.
You need the perspective
have
that
the
we
reference
know.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to have that anchor of galactic order,
Right.
some sort of law, whether it be the Republic or the Empire, and then the Force. The Force doesn't feel like the Force unless it's, I don't know, viewed in that way, unless you can pull it off where it is something more, I don't know, feral or, natural.
It would be cool. Yeah, it would be cool to see that perspective if it was contrasted to, if it was,
Right.
if there were references made back to what we know. So you could say, oh, that's this. You can draw the connections yourself. Like they may be talking
Sure.
about something different or seeing it in a different way, but what they're actually talking about is what we know
right
over here.
And we're getting like the opposite of that from the Mandalorian, where it's like a bunch of people that have never seen the Force or Jedi ever.
And we have all the information
We
as
have
the
all
audience.
the information.
Yeah,
And they're
of
like, what is this thing doing? And someone's like, I've heard of space wizards,
right.
Doing this type of thing before, and they don't know anything about it.
Right. And we as the audience are sitting there like,
It's Yoda, baby Yoda. We don't know what it is. He's one of them, a frogman.
right. We have more information than they do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. Too many things that are tentatively announced that may or may not exist at some point if we're allowed to make films again.
Too many carrots dangling in front of us.
Don't touch those carrots. Someone else touched them.
Yeah, for a world
Keep your
that
mask on.
doesn't let you eat dangling carrots anymore.
No. You cannot self-serve yourself carrots at a public place.
Oh, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Soup plantation.
Soup plantation / sweet tomatoes. R.I.P. any self-service and or buffet and or
Yeah. All you Golden Corral
anything.
heads out there, good luck. That's not coming back.
Again,
I like Golden Corral.
Again,
I
there's
will
some
say
good
that
things.
unironically.
There's some good things that are coming out of this. Not things that really,
I do
things
not
that should have
consider.
happened on their own.
I do not consider losing Golden Corral potentially
No, that's
as
a
a good thing. No.
More people have been saved due to that than a
No, sorry. I will disagree about that one. I'm not saying Gold Corral is good.
That's good.
It is a very
You're
bad
sure not
place,
insane.
but I enjoy it.
The lives that have been saved due to the realization that we all shouldn't touch the same food.
So can
It's
we not
probably
have
good.
places like Waffle House? Like really shitty, disgusting places anymore?
Well, at least you're no. It's the whole service. Like at least someone else is served. Like you're being served the food, but just like a bunch of randos aren't all sticking their hand in the sweet potatoes.
Oh, okay. That step.
You know, when you go
You
up,
can't have that step
you go
anymore.
up to you're at Golden Corral, and you go up and you just swirl your hand around the sweet potatoes, and then come out
mix
with
it.
however many that are stuck on your fingers.
You got to mix the brown sugar water back in there somehow.
Yeah, you got to mix up that clear gelatinous layer that's on top so that you can forget it existed when you scoop it onto your plate.
The brown jello.
Brown sugar jello.
Be right back. I gotta go make some brown jello.
Oh no. And that's what happens after Golden Corral.
I'm gonna take a magazine.
Great. All right. I think we've successfully
Reach the bottom.
gotten halfway to remembering how to make a podcast.
I think so.
We'll probably make another one at some point.
We have it according to our calendar. We have.
According to our calendar, we will record another
We're back on
episode.
schedule.
Nothing.
Somewhat.
There will be nothing new to talk about.
True. We just talked about it all.
Uh-huh.
Well, you have things to watch.
If the last 2 months are any indication, every day will be the same. It could be a Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Sunday. The months are years and the years are hours. Our lives are meaningless. There's no hope. This has been Hokey Religion.
You had a good opportunity to rhyme that there, but
No.
we missed it.
Well, I'm sorry.
We could talk about Clone Wars. We could talk
I
about
need to watch
Project
Clone
Luminous
Wars.
books. We could talk about Thrawn Treason, which we still haven't read.
I need to finish that.
Queen Shadow just came out for free recently.
So now you'll read it.
We could read that. Rise of Skywalker novelization is out. We could read that. There's still some things that we can talk about.
I do need to look into the Rise of Skywalker novelization because I haven't seen anything posted anywhere, so I'm guessing they didn't actually add anything extra that
Uh-oh.
answered questions.
It's not good. Surprise, surprise. We have things to talk about. We just have to do homework.
Somehow Kylo Ren went to Mustafar. Somehow the end.
That's the stuff they added. They added more somehow.
More somehow. The end. ... Somehow.
Question mark?
Question mark. Yeah.
Somehow?
Oh no. All right. Well, yeah, I need to watch Clone Wars. I need to watch the documentary on The Mandalorian. Check out all those video screens they used.
That too.
And yeah, that's all. The end. Complete. All right.
Oh.
No, do it. This has been Hokey Religion. This is
Okay,
Tyler.
goodbye.
Bye.
This is me, Michael. Goodbye.
Hokey religion is an ancient weapon. Hokey religion is an ancient weapon, so no match for a good blaster at your side.